Welcome to Magnificent Mogul, the brand that promotes entrepreneurs, and we're shooting right here on location at Perimeter Zen. Today I have with me the one and only Cherie Banks. Cherie is the founder of powersuccess.org, and today we're going to talk about what makes her powerful and successful. Are you ready, Cherie?
Yes, I'm ready.
Good deal. Cherie, thank you so much for becoming a part of the Magnificent Mogul brand. It's so wonderful to have you here, and I want to thank you for coming on board. I initially encountered you at the film showing of Generation 1, and it was a fantastic film, and it was so successful, and I really want to commend you on that. So to have you here on Magnificent Mogul right after Generation 1 is a fantastic thing. So you're ready to tell me a little bit about powersuccess.org, which is your organization, and what you're doing right here in the Dallas DFW area?
Yes, absolutely. And first of all, I want to thank you for having me as a guest. I'm so delighted to be here, and especially with all the good work that you're doing to promote entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for the just the congratulations on Generation 1. It certainly was not an individual effort. It was collaborative. I had a lot of people behind me, certainly key influencers, the community, and most of all, a special thank you to Ronnie Lamar Tyler, who produced the film. Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
They're extraordinary. So all of that culminated through Power Success, which is an organizational platform that I created to promote social and economic empowerment in the community.
That's fantastic. Okay. Well, let's take it a step back because, after I went to the film showing, I was like, I want to find out all about Cherie Banks. So these are a couple of the titles that come up when I looked up your name. I was like, wow, this woman is really doing it. Success leader, expert business strategist, executive coach and accountability partner, 7-figure power networker. That really stood out to me. Keynote speaker and corporate trainer. Where do I begin? So I think I want to take it to the 7-figure power networker. What does that mean? Can you explain to me as well as the viewers, what does it mean to be a 7-figure power networker?
Sure. Well, first of all, Daymond, all it really means is that I have been blessed and gifted with the ability to connect with people in a very deep and meaningful way, which has created opportunities to build wealth for others, including myself.
Right.
And being a 7-figure power networker has really been the foundation in which has served for my business enterprise as well as venture capital investments.
Fantastic. Okay. So, what I heard a little bit under those words were that it's a blessing to be a 7-figure power network. Can you go into that a little bit more? What do you mean it's a blessing? Did you sort of tap into your spirituality to bring forth the success?
Yes, absolutely. I believe that all of us have gifts and abilities that were designed and placed in us even before our birth. And so it's been a journey. And so I believe that they were deposited there. And there are certain things that when we come into this environment and certainly in this plane, that we can hone in that and cultivate and develop that. So
that's fantastic. I think so many entrepreneurs are looking for that. And that's one of the things that I constantly hear is that, when somebody begins an entrepreneurial journey, there's some sort of a confusion and people spend some time trying to figure out, well, where do I go as a networker? What is it that I'm trying to do? And what I'm hearing from you is that it's already engraved in you. You just have to find it.
Absolutely. And one of the things I really want to stress, especially for entrepreneurs, is that we, just as a people, we're gifted in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And so some of my giftings may be different than yours or somebody else's. But when we come together in a collaborative effort, we can certainly share in each other's gifts and learn and teach and even hone in on some expertise. And so what I may be actually lacking in may be your strong suit and vice versa. And especially to be involved in an entrepreneurial community, it's very individualistic, but at the same time, we're all very connected.
That's right.
And to really exasperate and magnitude that success on a massive exposure level is saying, okay, well, you know what, if you have this strong suit and I may be weak here, let's come together and work on something collaboratively to make it successful. And the more that we get people to do that, I think too is, sometimes there's feelings for entrepreneurs of insecurity, maybe I'm not good enough in this aspect, but I'm really good at creating a product. I may not be good at marketing the product.
Right.
But there's another entrepreneur out there that is excellent at marketing a product. And so we just really need to connect. And that's why I'm so excited to be here, because your brand and with Magnificent Mogul is really going out to do that.
Absolutely.
So I think, as we see your organization and other organizations like it and companies come together and really push that, we can all be very, very successful.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. And that's exactly right. Whenever I started the Magnificent Mogul brand, that's exactly what I had in mind. I wanted to touch base with as many entrepreneurs as I can find and create an online database so that people can connect to do business the way that you are explaining now.
Yeah, and I think it's outstanding, especially because you're getting the voice of the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
A lot of things that are out there are more, kind of that training and development, which is also a sphere that, I'm in. But to be able to have some real talk and some real dialogue and sharing what that is, I think is outstanding.
Thank you. So let's talk about, that whole networking component that you just mentioned, and, to be blessed and, successful and moving into the $7-figure range. Can you sort of go into some of the clientele that you've dealt with or the companies that you've dealt with to get to that level?
Daymond, I would absolutely love to, because the clients that I have are the most amazing people on the planet. They really, really are. However, due to confidentiality agreements, which is an inherent component of my business and also a core value that I deeply have, I do not share that information publicly. However, what I can give you is that my elite clientele consists primarily of Fortune 500 C-suite executives. And then also, within that, I also work with emerging entrepreneurs and business startups on an international level.
Wow, that's great. I mean, I think that's good enough. I think people can kind of get an idea of who some of your clients are from that answer. How did you sort of move into that sphere or that tier of clientele?
It's really been a natural process for me in my professional development, because I have always had this innate ability to connect with people. And I'm also a very strategic thinker, and I like to implement innovative initiatives that really produce results. And so all of that culminated into what was one of my career highlights, was being an integral contributor to a national company of helping them generate their first $1 billion in revenue.
Wow.
And being able to not only do that, but continue to have successive, consistent results.
Okay. That's great. So you have the results, and I like what you mentioned. You try to move your clients into moving into making their first million. And so I think that's great, and that sort of fits into your whole plan and strategic outlook on building generational wealth. So let's talk about generational wealth. What are some of the initiatives you currently have going on to inspire the whole foundation of building generational wealth?
Oh my goodness. I have so many different initiatives going on, both individually and collaboratively. They're on many different platforms, and they kind of have a wide array of, from conferences to seminars to webinars to panel discussions to digital media engagement. One of the things that you had indicated was I did host a moving screening on generational wealth. So that also consisted of panel discussion of some key influencers and people in the community, which was then backed by a worldwide web series on wealth building, and then followed by a community impact call. So we can find out, tracking our progress. I think that everything that we do in business and even in our personal lives needs to be measurable and scalable, and we can track that so we can improve and really, can continue with the movement. And so one of the things that I'm actively engaged in are my coaching programs. I have a how to create multiple streams of income and how to build a 6- and 7-figure business, as well as I did a recent launch of a new 90-day intensive coaching program specifically designed for women, and it's entitled Wealthy Women by Design.
Wow, that's great.
So I'm in the trenches in that, and I have some other things in the works as well. That will be launched here shortly.
Okay, so it sounds like you have a very strong strategic planning and strategic platform that's the fundamental basis of everything that you are doing. Right.
Yes.
So there's some metrics that kind of goes behind that, and you present those to your clientele, and that's
yes.
okay.
And
Gotcha.
I recommend that everybody, especially entrepreneurs, that we're using some type of metric system.
Okay.
And
Okay.
there's all types of digital online platforms that you can use that
All
are
right.
free and also, subscription based
Wow.
that can help you
Okay.
in that process.
Okay.
And so a lot of people just kind of just start something and go along, but without that tracking,
Yeah, you
measurable,
need that. Yeah.
you really need that so you can know where the gaps are, so you can know where the broken processes are, and so you can hone in on that, and
Yeah.
really excel beyond. Yeah.
So how did you make that connection? So your background is in law.
Yes.
And so am I going too far to say, I guess you have this background where you're always looking for evidence. And so you're always looking for evidence. So it seemed to me as if when you were going out on your entrepreneurial path, you were like, okay, well, how do I get the evidence when I'm working with my clientele? What systems do I have to have in place to even measure how successful my clients are? Is that sort of what happened? Is that how your brain clicked?
It's really interesting that you bring it out in that manner. So because it is a lot of that has truth to it. And what I mean by that is, in my legal background, I have extensive experience in complex insurance defense litigation.
Wow. Okay.
And so in that capacity, I specialized in professional liability, and I oversaw approximately 350 to 500 attorneys throughout the United States.
Wow.
Everywhere from the inception of trial through trial and post-trial through appeal. And so I've had the experience in working with them and really reviewing cases and negotiating multi-million-dollar favorable settlements, which is always good.
Yeah.
But that experience has allowed me to really work with the world's top leading experts, as well as professional service physicians that were entrepreneurs, as well as attorneys, accountants, architects, engineers. And so they were really just either having their own business or working with companies, even public officials and government entities.
Yeah.
And it was because it was professional liability, oftentimes I'm on the other side of the defense. And so what we're looking at is they're typically sued, allegedly, for allegations of either malpractice or negligence or something that is being, a claim that they did something wrong.
Gotcha.
And so part of my job was to really go in and look at the documents and the evidence. And so I'm looking at, what systems were in place and what was being documented, what was being communicated, and what was being missed for an alleged occurrence, negligent occurrence, or what have you to occur. So we're looking at these things, and so I think my training has really allowed me to hone in on that, which then evolved strongly into risk management.
Gotcha.
Because in my life philosophy is you have this conflict, and I'm always on the back end of it, after it happens. So I'm really good at mitigating damage and resolving conflict. But for me, I want to be proactive. I live a very proactive lifestyle. And so I was like, well, why am I always on the back end? I should be on the front end, helping people to not be in these situations. And so I really went into the risk management piece. And when I did that, I loved it, because I was able to go into these companies, into these offices, and really look at where are those missing elements, and how can we strengthen your business processes? How can we make better policies and procedures and different things to really either mitigate that damage, make it minimal, or avoid it altogether, which is the ultimate goal. And so that was also very natural for me.
Gotcha.
And because I dealt with a lot of labor and employment issues, a lot of contractual issues with, different agreements and subcontracting and things like that, the entrepreneurial space became very...
It sort of naturally emerged.
Yes. It was it called me out.
Got you.
It definitely called me out.
My term for that is organic.
Yes.
Yeah, it was organic. And I like for a lot of things, even in my personal life, to be organic. I think the best things that can happen to you are the organic ones.
I agree.
You have to listen.
I agree. We need to be still sometimes and follow that. And I can tell you, just in my own experience and also with working with many entrepreneurs, is that we fight that.
Yeah,
We
so much.
We know it's there, there and we want to do it, but we'll find every excuse in the world. You know, how am I going to have a living? How am I going to pay my bills if I just go into entrepreneurship? I know it's there, but I'm unhappy. I'm feeling unfulfilled. And so those are a lot of the issues that I tackle on in my coaching and in my work. And so making the money is relatively easy because when you have the blueprint to success, you know what to do, and but it's really overcoming the fear, getting into that right mindset, and resiliency, tenacity, perseverance, and being able to take challenges and look at it as not a problem but an opportunity.
Thank you so much for saying that, because, and I'm glad you spent so much time on that, because that's what I want the viewers to hear. You know, when I'm listening to your story, it seems as if you develop this very strong confidence to move into your entrepreneurial space that I think a lot of people sometimes fear. They have a fear of moving that way. So I'm glad that you explained that, because I think that's definitely something that every entrepreneur needs to be successful. You have to realize what your strengths are. You have to, do some introspection. You have to be still. You have to listen, and then you move naturally into the direction that you should be moving into. One of the things that, we didn't really spend a lot of time on it, but with entrepreneurs, I also think that sometimes they listen to other people. They listen to other people when they really should be just looking at their strengths and not worrying about the competition, but thinking about how you can strengthen your skills in order to be a unique and individual entrepreneur. So can you explain that? Did you have that realization, or was that something that was just always in you?
To strengthen my skills, or to...
No, just realizing your unique qualities and that you could be successful in your uniqueness, in you as Cherie.
Oh,
where did that come from?
That was a process.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
That was definitely a process. Yeah. I loved my work in law. I was very good at it, and I enjoyed it because of the intellectual challenges and the complexities, and I'm a problem solver. However, I have to say that I didn't feel fully comfortable. And what I mean by that is, at first I loved wearing the suits and the briefcase, and you have the corner office, and it's great. But after a while, the shininess wore off, and I was just like, this isn't really me. Just from my style of dress, you kind of do what's expected of that profession. And so for me, I wanted to be a little bit freer, and certain things that I wanted to voice, I kind of held in. And I think we do that a lot of times, typically. And so I think there is a confidence factor that you have to come into your own. I think it's good to listen to people who are wise, who have done it before, and who have a successful track record. I think oftentimes a lot of people get into listening to people that may be inexperienced in the area or the direction that you're going in, and they're probably not the best people to listen to in that regard. So I think you have to use wisdom and discernment. Yeah,
I call it a filter. I think, honestly, I really think everybody has something beneficial to offer, whether it's 20% or 80%. I just think that what comes over time, as you have more and more mentors, you learn how to filter. And I think that's how your discernment plays into the whole thing. Because I've recently been going through that,
Have you? Yeah.
Yes, I have. And I think my filter is just, it's getting stronger. So I think that's
that's good. It's good. And I think we all need to really live our truth. I think people tend to go into certain professions for the wrong reasons. For example, you might have a parent that's an influencer wanting you to go into this area or that area, but it's really not in your heart. You want to be an artist, but is there really any money in making art? You know, sometimes there may be, but it looks like, or at least people say that the odds or the percentages are low. But you could be one of those percentages. I think it really depends on what enriches your life, what really makes you happy, and can you make a living on it?
Yes,
will people pay for the thing that you do, that you love to do? I always say there's 3 questions. What is it that you love to do? Are you any good at it?
Yeah.
Because some people are really good at really want to do things, but they're not good at it. And are people willing to pay you for it?
Right.
And if you can answer yes, pretty much to those 3 things, you have a business inside of you.
Yeah, I think
you
so.
really, really do. And so it's just being able to navigate that process. And it is a process.
It's a lengthy process.
Yeah. And many people, they want to take the elevator as opposed to the stairs. And the elevator works to make some maybe quick money, but the stairs really helps you keep a sustainable business.
Right, I agree.
Which should really be every entrepreneur's goal.
I absolutely agree. I think you should stay away from those elevators, because sometimes when you ride the elevator, you lose integrity sometimes because of some of the things you have to do to become successful. So I absolutely agree that you have to take the stairs sometimes.
Yeah, there's a life lesson in every single step, and we really have to appreciate that process. And really look within to see where we are in that process. And how are we going to get there? And finding the right mentors, finding the right coach, making sure that you're filling yourself with productive and positive messaging, with the books that you read and the the projects you're involved in. And so I think all of that comes into play.
Got you. And, I also think it comes into play with your whole, a part of your brand is building generational wealth. So let's talk about Generation Wealth again.
Okay.
Yeah, because I thought it was such a fantastic event. How do you think, the event was very, very successful, but, sometimes it's difficult to convey a message to somebody and get it to stick. Are there any plans on your end to, I guess, keep the momentum going and keep people engaged and to keep the generational wealth building and process?
Yes, I think that, well, first of all, following that event, the momentum could not be any stronger. People were really engaged, and not only engaged, but I was doing things and, again, measuring and monitoring progress of people who actually attended and reached out to me. And they're not only engaged, but they've actually changed their mindset. And proactively have aligned their actions to that mindset where they're getting successes. As early as that evening.
That's fantastic.
That I've had, success stories or testimonials. And so what I've done is, again, I've created different events, whether it's conferences or online virtual programs or hangouts, if you will, to reach and touch in and see where are we going. Where
it's that metrics again.
Yes, against that metrics. And what can we do more? So I think it's going to be an ongoing process. I feel that the community has just been amazing, and people they're ready. They're ready for that change. And I think that the movie, to its credit, and certainly the Lamar and Ronnie Tyler, is that we're able to see a visual storyboard, if you will, of what do we need to do? What are some of the steps? How are we thinking? And really creating a legacy where we're leaving our children wealth and not debt that is so prevalent, unfortunately, in the communities in which we live and serve. But I'm starting to see that shift. And I would be remiss to say that I can do it all on my own, because I can't. I absolutely can't. This is, again, it's a collaborative effort, and it's going to take organizations like Power Success, companies to come in and back those things up, people such as you and other people to come together and really push and heighten that momentum to where we can start seeing that people are creating trusts and savings accounts and college funds, and that we're leaving our children with something to build their future, and that they're not just stuck in mortgages and tax debt and all of these things if somebody were to pass on in the family. And so it's a real issue, and we're tackling that. But I am seeing successes, and I'm seeing people changing and doing something about it. So now the responsibility falls back on, we have to continue to fuel and provide those financial resources, those training resources, the education, to help them stay on course.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the reason why I asked the question, because in today's world, everybody is just so busy, and we're caught up in the the 9 to 5s, and we're caught up in all the things we currently have going on with our families, and sometimes it's kind of hard to take that step back and think about, well, what am I doing to leave a legacy? So I commend you on everything that you're doing and the messages that you put out to keep it going, and absolutely thank you. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help people like yourself to continue to put out those messages to build the generational wealth that you're speaking of.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we set an example.
Yeah.
We're influencers,
Right.
and with that comes a greater responsibility, I believe, and that we're modeling. I'm creating a youth entrepreneurship program,
That's fantastic.
And so where we can start working with the youth to help them on an early onset of gaining these concepts
Much
and putting
needed.
them
Yeah.
right and keeping
Much needed.
And you're seeing more and more young people. I mean, from teenagers to even younger than that. I'm seeing 7, 8, 9-year-olds with an entrepreneurial spirit, and they are now leveraging technology with different online store shops and e-commerce, and being able to really help even fund their own education.
I think
which
that
is
movement
amazing.
I know that movement
Yes.
is fantastic. But I think people like yourself can still come in and operate as a mentor, because some of the things that I see at that level, like with the millennials, is that they have they're thinking more entrepreneurial based than we were when we were that age. But it's a lot of the fundamental training that they're missing, the things that, they know how to make the technology work, and they know about, demand and supply, but to keep, to maintain that success, that's where they need the help. And that's where you.
But you know what? I really look at what I see to be very beneficial is to have an exchange mentorship.
That's
and
right.
what I mean by that is, when I was coming up, we didn't have the technology. It wasn't as easy or available because the internet wasn't in existence, so to speak, until, And so, but now that we have all of this at our fingertips, they're so good with the technology and they're really quick and witty. And that's amazing. And so, but the more, if you want to say seasoned people who've really learned those life lessons in terms of, the resiliency and all of that I was talking about, and strategy and what's the best way to act, and being very observant. And so I think that if we can partner with a young person, and especially the millennials, and do an exchange mentorship, I think we'll all be winning.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I just started one.
Wonderful.
Well, that's why I mentioned it, because I already see where the exchange has to happen.
Yes.
You verified it.
Yes.
But absolutely, I think it's a win-win situation, because they know so much about the technology, but like you're saying, it's that resiliency, and that's really how any mentor relationship works, right? The person who is more successful than you are, they have these milestones that they've already hit that they can tell you about, and then that way, when you encounter them, you can deal with it so much better. At least that's been helpful, in my situations. So.
And I think too, one of the areas that I have found to be challenging is that, especially with younger people, is their element of what a relationship is, how to establish it, because it's mostly done on social media these days. And so it's great because you have greater reach, but sometimes the quality is not as good.
In a personal connection.
In that personal connection of, how we do it. Hey, we meet in person and that sort of thing. And so we really need to find a healthy balance between the two. Where we can still have great reach, but keep that personal connection, that dynamic of really wanting to help somebody enrich their life through a product or service that you're offering. And you can provide value in the marketplace and be able to have a nice living.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now let's talk about culture, because you've been here in DFW for 2 years. So was there any cultural, things that you had to deal with? Any boundaries you faced, or when you were moving into trying to build your business here in Dallas? Were there any things you had to deal with?
I've experienced really wonderful things.
Okay.
Men open up the doors here.
Yeah.
You know, you're in
Okay.
it's the South, and I'm not used to that. People are
Okay.
very, willing to help, and
That's
so
good.
that's been very nice.
That's good.
And it's interesting you asked me that question because I've lived in other cities as well. I'm originally from Chicago, but I've also lived in Los Angeles and in Scottsdale, Arizona, so the Phoenix metro area. And I have to say that in those other cities, and it may have been because I was not as mature or, seasoned in business, but I did experience some barriers of entry in
Got
those other cities where I really had to learn how to navigate those lands and that playing field.
Yeah.
And so I think when I came to Dallas, I was already aware of what barriers to entry that there are or that exist.
Okay.
And so when I came in, I knew how to go right in.
That's good.
And basically step over them.
Right,
Does that make sense?
right. Yeah.
And so I didn't have those experiences here in Dallas. And I think it suited me well. And because I was able to navigate that in such a way that I wasn't really faced with that.
Got you.
Now I know, now I can identify it and actually share that with other people and teach that to other people.
Well, and that's really why I was asking a question because, had you had any barriers that you faced, I would have wanted you to express to the viewers, well, what were your techniques for dealing with that? Because that's one of the things that I think a lot of entrepreneurs face whenever they're moving into it, whether it's regional or online, there's always some boundary that you have to face to move into a certain space. So
Agreed.
so and maybe that's a part of your coaching program. So what are some strategies that you suggest some entrepreneurs use to sort of overcome those boundaries of entry?
Yeah, well, a lot of times when you go to a new city, or even a new industry, you might be in the same city but in a different industry. What tends to happen is we learn everything about, who's doing what in that industry or who's connected to who, and we just start reaching out to everybody, hoping that somebody will connect with you, and you're kind of spinning your wheels. And for the most part, a lot of people they live very healthy, productive, busy lives, and so they're not necessarily as willing to reach out to you. And so what I've learned is I've spent a lot of time spinning my wheels. With that is I don't do that anymore. At all. And so what I do now is I do very strategic, deliberate research. And I look to who are the key influencers in that industry, in that field, in that community. And then I make sure that they are proven as well. Just not that because they, have some status and power, but I really look at the character of these people. I think that's very important. So what I do is I look at all of those components and I put it together, and then I really take the time to understand what their passions and interests are, and seeing if they're aligned with yours, with mine. And if it is, then there is a genuine wanting, if you will, to connect. And so then you craft a correspondence, whether it's via LinkedIn or Facebook or letter, telephone, and you really hone in on the mission of what you're trying to accomplish, as opposed to, hey, I have this agenda, you have that agenda, and really make a genuine connection and meet in person and develop the relationship and continue to put those feelers out and see if this is going to be a good collaboration, a good partnership or relationship. When you get to that level and there you're investing that time, you're going to start seeing amazing results.
I think that's
successful and amazing results. And so as opposed to I'm just going to send a blast email or blast messaging and then you see that it's because I get a lot of that too, people reaching out to me as a public figure and I can tell they're just template messaging, and they really didn't do necessarily the research, and it's not heart-centered. I think people really respond well to heart-centered, and so I
wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying, especially in a time where we live with so much social media at our fingertips, and we literally have everybody at our fingertips.
Yes.
And you're right.
Yes.
That is the number one missing component. You know, there are messages sent sometimes, and there is no research behind it. You know, I'm thinking, if you really want to do business, then let's figure out what really works. Like, you know, go out, do some research, pull out my bullet points, and then put them against yours, and then we can talk about that. And then that way, when we have a meeting, we have some mutual conversation topics to talk about.
Yeah,
you know?
and it is, a lot of it is the work that people do, because we're attracted to people's work.
Yeah.
But for me, I always request an in-person visit before I work with anybody.
Okay.
And I really dive deep into understanding how they think.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's the thought process, and which then will lead you to motivations.
Yeah.
And that is very, very telling.
Yeah.
And again, exercising and strengthening that discernment. And once you've been in a lot of different situations, both negative and positive, you get stronger and you'll start seeing patterns. And, you know, once you start seeing patterns, then that then evolves into programs.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that you can help and share and educate.
Absolutely. Well, Cherie, you have definitely blessed us with some nuggets of information in this conversation today. And I'm going to lighten it up a little bit now. Okay. And I think people have gotten some very interesting and potent techniques that they can use in their entrepreneurial efforts. But I want to know from you, you know, what do you do for fun? Let's take it off the business. What do you do for fun? Are there any travel places on your bucket list that you're hoping to get to soon?
Absolutely.
What are they?
You know, I have lots of destinations. I'm pretty well traveled now, but I do have some remote
I like
and
remote.
secluded destinations that I have my eye on. But one in particular is Bora Bora.
Oh, that's on my list too.
And I mean, who wouldn't want to go to the French Polynesia, right?
It's so beautiful.
It's beautiful. And, you know, because I live such a purposed and productive lifestyle, I'm always in meetings and on the go, and it's always hustle, 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 hustle. And so when I look at the photographs of the amazing landscape, it's just simply divine. And I think to myself, hopefully there's no internet connection there, because then I'd be working while I'm there.
I researched. I think I did. I researched, and actually one of the hotels has internet access, and I think, you know, when I go, I'm definitely going to access the internet.
Are you? See, I plan to be on one of those waterfront bungalows where you can actually see the Pacific Ocean in the floor, and just spend some, you know, good relaxation time. Power down. I think it's really important to power down. As an entrepreneur, you know, we're working all the time. That's the thing. That's another thing that I want to share, is that people, they think, oh, you know, if I leave this job and I do my own thing, that somehow you're not going to have to, you know, work as hard.
No,
but you
harder.
work more.
It's harder.
You know, but it's not necessarily work, because if you love it. So you really want to do what you're passionate about. But so I tend to like to do destinations that will keep me in the, you know, remote areas. Another one is the Canary Islands.
Oh, okay. I haven't researched Canary Islands.
Oh, you have? Yeah. Oh. So it's supposed to have one of the best ecological systems in the world.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
And come back healthy.
And come back healthy. And so, you know, there's just just quaint away places. I'm trying to, I love Richard Branson, and of course he has Necker Island. And so, you know, that's in my vision peripheral. So.
Well, that's fantastic, Cherie. So again, I want to thank you so much for coming here and having this conversation with me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
I'm glad it was. I think we went overtime, but that's okay. I think the viewers are going to get some fantastic information out of this interview. And again, thank you for being here, and congratulations on all of your success.
Thank you. Appreciate it.